Now, chronic illness, as I said earlier, chronic illness usually means chronic medication use. So if we go back to leaky gut contributes to systemic inflammation that can contribute to multitudes of different types of autoimmune diseases that lead to symptoms, that lead people to their doctor. Their doctor gives them a diagnosis and then proceeds to write them prescription drugs to mask the symptoms that they're experiencing in an effort to improve the quality of their life. All that being said, how many times are you going to allow that to happen before you realize that the use of chronic medications, as I've just laid out for you, many of them having a major impact on the GI tract and will only serve to give you a false sense of security. They may mask your symptoms for a time, but in the process, they're deteriorating your vitality by robbing your gut of its capacity to function. And so, again, when meds alter gut function, we develop more problems. More problems equals more meds. More side effects equals more meds. This is what we see now. It's polypharmacy at its worst. The average adult American is on 4 to 5 drugs. We know that the cost of that is over $3 trillion a year, and we're not seeing the health of people improve. So the very things that we spend money to treat the diseases are not improving the actual outcomes in these cases. So we're throwing good money away at symptoms instead of asking where the symptoms come from. Also, keep in mind that many medicines cause vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And so, as you see here, I've just taken a screenshot of one of the books from my library at home. The common medications prescribed for the treatment of autoimmune disease cause vitamin and mineral deficiencies that can hinder gut recovery. Nutritional deficiencies in leaky gut. This is not a comprehensive list of all the deficiencies, but it's some of the major ones. Vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin C, the B vitamins, the whole family of them, magnesium, zinc, selenium, L-glutamine, and short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. These deficiencies contribute to leakage. Now, this is published off of Cleveland Clinic's site. You can see here those with genetic predisposition that have low vitamin D deficiency can rechange or alter the microbial floral composition. In other words, it alters the type of bacteria growing inside of you, and that can contribute to increased leakage of your gut, as well as an increased immune activity or increased inflammation, leading to autoimmunity. This is one of the reasons why vitamin D is on our list of nutrient deficiencies that can contribute to leaky gut and autoimmunity. It's such a super simple thing to test. You know, if you have gone to your doctor and you do have autoimmune disease, you know, take this list and ask your doctor, look, doc, measure these things. Let's make sure I don't have deficiencies of these nutrients, because again, these deficiencies specifically can contribute to an intestinal permeability that just won't go away. Now, moving on. You see stress is also a factor. This study is the first to show that fluctuations in gut permeability after psychological stress induction. Now, we've already known that like super high intense exercise can cause transient leaky gut. In this study, it actually showed that psychological stress creates an effect on the gut that leads to leakiness as well. Okay, so we've just talked about a lot of things, so let's kind of bring perspective to it all, right? Disease is the accumulation of years of damage. That damage is a conglomeration of environmental bludgeoning. Typically, most of the things we've talked about today are your choices. They're not things that are not beyond your control. They're not genetic factors that predetermine that you're going to be ill because your dad or your mom or your uncle or your aunt or your grandparents were ill. These are food-based and environmental-based triggers. That's why we use the term environmental bludgeoning here. Repairing years of damage takes time. Removing gluten is a start, but it does not repair the damage. It stops one of the many poisons entering the body, but it doesn't repair the damage. Remember, removing grain comes with all those things we talked about. It comes with heavy metals, it comes with molds and mycotoxins, excessive carbohydrates. It comes with chemicals like pesticides. Many grains are GMO. So again, grain comes with a lot of bad things. So when you cut grain out of your diet and you're getting rid of gluten, but you're also getting rid of all those other things. So now that you're removing a lot of those potential poisons, now your body still has to repair, right? So again, removing gluten doesn't repair the damage. It stops the poisons from entering the body. Stopping the poison will certainly help, but it won't address all of the other environmental factors that contributed to your poor health. And so remember that disease is multifactorial. Once you become ill, overcoming leaky gut may require more than removal of gluten and grains. Toxic burden impacts the function of multiple tissues in the body. And so all this has to be healed, all this has to be repaired. Remember, all of these things that you see in this diagram are potential contributors to leaky gut. So again, not just gluten and grains, but also all of these other things. And so you have to look at your life and ask yourself, do I have these other things in control? Am I checking these things? Am I cutting the alcohol out? Am I sleeping well? Am I taking care of my nutritional needs? Am I consuming a lot of fast food? Can I get rid of that in lieu of real food? Am I drinking or eating out of plastics every day? Am I taking multiple medications that affect the health of my gut? Do I have unresolved food allergies and I'm eating those foods anyway? Do I have an overgrowth of abnormal bacteria in my GI tract that's continuing to contribute to the problem? These are things that should be investigated. If you want to overcome leaky gut, people come to me all the time and they've been trying to get rid of their leaky gut for years, 5 years, 10 years, doing things that they think are the right things, trying to throw supplements at leaky gut, but not making enough meaningful diet or lifestyle changes around it. So don't forget, you've got your homework ahead of you. If you want your leaky gut to repair, you've got to consider all of these things. So let's start with fundamentals. Number one, find and eliminate toxic burdens on your gut. Number two, make sure you only eat real food. Cut the garbage out. Number three, exercise to tolerance. Don't go too overboard with this. Exercise to your ability to tolerate the exercise. Again, this is especially true of women who've been sick for long periods of time, who have atrophy. A lot of times they try to ramp their exercise up too quickly and it ends up setting them back. So just be cautious. Do it to your ability to tolerate it. Sleep well. Go to bed on time. Go outside regularly without sunscreen. Now, don't go out so long to burn, but go out and get exposure to red light and UV light. These things are very beneficial to your microbiome. Manage your stress. You know what that looks like in your life. You know where you're letting those stressors in, and deal with those. Face those. If you've got bad relationships or you've got people in your life that are majorly stress points for you, you may need to take a look at those relationships and take a step back. Filter your air and water. Look, the air that we breathe, it's got to be clean. The water that we drink has got to be clean. So filter them. We're not going to control the environmental pollutants. We're not going to control what the major corporations pump into the environment. You're not going to control, the jet planes flying over us, releasing toxic chemicals into the air and toxic metals in the air to try to manipulate water. You can't control those things, but you can control whether or not you're filtering those things to the best of your ability. So do it. So, 10 steps to heal leaky gut syndrome naturally. Consider intermittent fasting or a liquid diet. Fasting can be done in 16 or 24-hour time frames. Consider fasting twice per week, as it gives the GI tract needed rest from the burden of digestion. If you go the liquid diet route, stick to things like bone broth, meat and vegetable stocks, or fresh vegetable juices. These liquids can be nutrient dense and are gentle on the gut. So give your gut some healing, resting opportunities by not overwhelming it when it's trying to repair. Okay, number two, have your doctor test you for hidden food allergies. This will allow you to eliminate potential sources of food-based inflammation and persistent gut damage. I've seen people allergic to broccoli. I've seen them sensitive to strawberries. I've seen them sensitive to beef. I've seen them sensitive to fill in the blank. It's not always the top major foods that you hear repetitively. Most people in the functional medicine community will agree that cutting out gluten, cutting out sugar, cutting out dairy are fantastic steps in the right direction, but it's the other foods that are nuanced. It's unique to the individual. So getting tested for those things can be extremely helpful. Have your doctor test you for gut issues or gut imbalances. If you've got a yeast overgrowth in your gut or a bacterial overgrowth in your gut that's imbalanced, it can contribute to persistent damage. So you can get those things measured with your doc and then deal with them accordingly. Avoid difficult to digest foods like dairy, beans, FODMAPs. These foods may be gluten-free, but they are naturally harder to digest and they can slow down your GI tract's ability to recover. Number 5, be wary of any medications that block stomach acid or reduce pain. These medicines alter your ability to digest and also strip away the GI mucosa, important in regulating that leaky gut. Number 6, practice deep breathing exercises before eating. The act of deep breathing slows down the part of your nervous system that inhibits digestion and activates the hormones that aid in digestion. Remember, don't eat in a hurry, don't eat in a rush. You want to engage your parasympathetic nervous system, that's your digestive nervous system, before the meal. Deep breathing can help with that tremendously. Move your body. The act of moderate walking stimulates the nerves that help maintain gut motility. Most people sit at a desk all day working. This sedentary lifestyle can actually contribute to a neurological slowing of your gut function and motility. Take a high-quality probiotic. You'll need at least 80 billion CFUs per day. Probiotics help digest your food and regulate your immune response. Many probiotics are grown on corn and cause a reaction in gluten-sensitive people, so buyer beware. Call the company that you're buying your probiotic from. Ensure that's not the case. Number 9, consider a strong digestive enzyme formulation. Those with gluten sensitivity commonly suffer with enzyme deficiencies, and these important proteins are necessary to break down your food and allow for proper nutrient absorption. And number 10, use a supplemental source of immunoglobulins. These immune proteins are helpful in binding gut pathogens, bacteria, yeast, viruses, supporting gut immune function, and supporting gut barrier function. Those are 10 things that you can start doing today. It will lead you down the right road. And remember to be patient with the process, but not too patient. It's my experience, if you're on the right track and things are going well, it can take 2 to 3 years. For a lot of people, for many quicker than that. But, you know, for really chronic challenged disease states, it can take longer, especially if you've been sick for decades. Now, that being said, just a side note here, if you've been doing this for over a year and you've not noticed one iota of improvement, not one bit of difference in your health and how you feel, you need to go get a doctor and you need to get testing done. Now, if you've been doing this for a year and you're like 60, 70% better and you're still seeing improvements, keep going. But if you're not seeing any improvement after a year, you're missing major key points. And I just want you to know that. I don't want you to just continue to struggle indefinitely, thinking I need to get to that 3-year mark, because that's what Dr. Osborne said in his video. Just remember, you should be noting steady state improvements as you're going through this. So if we're trying to simplify this whole process, right, step 1 is remove the bad things. Remove food allergens, remove toxins, remove microbial imbalances, and GI-altering medications. Now, as always, don't take this as medical advice. If you're going to stop a medication that your doctor prescribed you, go talk to your doctor about it. But if your doctor is unwilling, try to find a doctor who's willing to work with you in this alignment. Otherwise, you'll never, ever break the cycle. And you look in the second category here, replace and repair. What we're trying to replace the good microbes. We're trying to repair the damage. So we're trying to calm the inflammation. We're trying to replace the good bacteria. We're trying to replace nutrients through healthy, whole food. And we're trying to replace environmental nutrients, things like sunshine and clean air. And, you know, again, those oxygen, these are super important nutrients as well that oftentimes get overlooked. We're also trying to restore and maintain. In the restore and maintain phase, the healing phase, we're working on building a solid foundation of health. Exercise, rest, sunshine, stress management, positive thoughts, all got to play a role in this whole process. So, you know, think of these as your journey. You may not be perfect in everything today, but you need to incorporate all of these things if you really want to get better. Now, I want to talk a little bit about supplemental support. This is one of the top questions I get, which supplements are healthy, which supplements are better to try to use during a process like this. And the quick answer is there's no such thing as one size fits all. Look, in my practice, I test people. We predetermine which things they need so that we can be very, very specific. So in this, I'm just going to give you some generalizations. Now, as always, if you're working with your doctor and you're on medications, it's always a good idea to talk about adding your supplements in with your doctors so that you know you're not doing something that might mix or interact with the medicine in a way that it shouldn't. So again, let's look at some things that might be helpful. You need to restore gut motility. If your gut motility is not there, your digestion is going to be hindered, your bowel movements are going to be hindered, and you're not going to release those toxins from your bowel movements as effectively. So some people find fiber extremely helpful, and some do not. I mean, there's a category of folks that fiber exacerbates or irritates their bowel. So if you are one of those that every time you try a fiber supplement or eating foods that are higher in fiber and you struggle, listen to your body. Your body's right. Now, many of you do extremely well with fiber, and by adding extra fiber, your bowel movements pick back up and become much more healthy. That fiber can also feed the good gut bacteria in your microbiome. We have a formula called Ultra Fiber. You're more than welcome to check it out. I'm going to put a PDF of this entire slide deck in the comment section below the video. And so on this slide here, anything that's underlined is a link, and you're more than welcome to go and check those products out. Don't feel obligated to buy from us, but we do appreciate that support if you want to use our gluten and grain-free products. You might also consider probiotics. As I mentioned earlier, probiotics can be a game changer. I've got entire videos on the benefits of probiotics on the GI tract that you might want to check out as well. Prebiotics. Prebiotics are things that feed probiotics, and so typically a prebiotic would be something like a digestion-resistant starch. You'll notice in some of our probiotics we have something in them called larch arabinogalactin, which is a prebiotic. It's there to feed the microbes that you're taking. And then there's also something called the postbiotic, which you see there in parentheses. That's butyrate. Butyrate is a postbiotic. It is what your good, healthy gut bacteria produce to fuel the cells of your colon. So prebiotics are one thing, probiotic like short-chain fatty acids and butyrate are another. And then water. Make sure you're hydrating well. Water into your bowel helps with bowel movements, as does exercise and motion. Remember, your gut require movement, and you moving, walking, getting up from the desk is going to be super helpful in restoring gut motility. Now, some supplements to support the protection of the lining of the GI tract. Let's say you've got this really long history of using steroids and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You've got damage to the mucosal lining, and you're trying to soothe that. We have two different, what we call mucilaginous products that contain a variety of different ingredients. Things like deglycerinized licorice and aloe vera and okra extract. These are things that coat and line. So if you do have areas that are damaged, we can coat and line those areas and give you some kind of soothing relief as you're trying to make your way through this journey. So two products we have are GI Shield, and another one is called GI Soothe. Now, GI Shield is a powder you can mix in water and drink it. GI Soothe is a pill. So, pick your preference there. Then there's nutrients to support gut energy balance and healthy cell turnover. My two favorite in that regard, one is L-glutamine. L-glutamine is an amino acid. It is the primary fuel source for your small intestinal cells. And so 1 to 2 grams a day of L-glutamine, for many people, find that dose very, very helpful. Ultra Nutrients is our multivitamin. Think of it as a shotgun. It provides the vitamins and the minerals in whole to help get your nutrition back on track. And then there also are supplements to support digestion, such as digestive enzymes. Gluten Shield is our patented trademarked version of a digestive enzyme formula that helps to reduce and degrade gluten proteins, but also it helps to break down other foods as well. It is a multi-spectrum digestive enzyme. And then we have Ultra Acid. For those of you that have low stomach acid or that struggle producing stomach acid, Ultra Acid is a mixture, but it contains betaine hydrochloride as a primary ingredient to help with putting acid on the stomach. And then we have something called Lipogest. Those of you that have had your gallbladder removed, this is where Lipogest might be extremely beneficial. Lipogest is a bile supplement that helps to support your digestion of fats and fat-soluble vitamins. So remember, vitamins A, D, E, and K require they're fat soluble, so they require bile to be properly absorbed. And if your gallbladder's missing, that may become a challenge. If your gut's super inflamed, here's some things that you can do to support your healthy inflammation response. Of course, healing broths and organic foods have to be at the top of the list. I mentioned intermittent fasting earlier, but here are some supplement options that work really, really well in my experience. One is to do a vitamin C or a detox C cleanse, and then follow that up with a maintenance dose of 5 to 10 grams of vitamin C daily. Now, realize that most vitamin C preparations on the market are made from corn. So if you're gluten sensitive, I don't encourage you to use corn-derived vitamin C formulas. Not a good idea. Also, something else to consider, if you are if you have an oxalate problem, if you've got a history of kidney stones, or you know you have an oxalate problem, using high doses of vitamin C, for long periods of time is probably not the best solution for you. So again, if you don't have a problem with oxalates, don't worry about it. Vitamin C would be a great choice, but if you do, just word of caution. Vitamin D. Vitamin D, as I mentioned earlier, very important for immune regulation and modification of the gut. In my experience, the vast majority of people I see that come in for testing are vitamin D deficient. The vast majority, 90+%. It's one of the most common deficiencies that we see, especially in those people who are gluten sensitive and have been eating gluten. So 5 to 10,000 units per day plus sunshine exposure is a good place to start. If you're going to use those higher doses, you definitely want to get your levels checked periodically. Check in with your doctor, get your levels checked. And if you have, frank or overt kidney damage or a disease like scleroderma, high doses of vitamin D are not right for you. So again, most people do well with vitamin D, but there are situations where you wouldn't want to use it. So again, it's always best to talk to your doctor if you're going to use higher doses. Turmeric. Turmeric can be extremely anti-inflammatory and a very effective tool. So again, some of you that have oxalate problems won't do well with turmeric, but if you don't have oxalate problems, turmeric is a good choice. We have a product called Ultra LGS, that stands for Leaky Gut Support, and this product contains a number of different ingredients that we're talking about here today, but it also includes ingredients like bee propolis, which have a very inflammation supporting effect on the GI tract. And then Immune Shield. Immune Shield is a concentrated immunoglobulin protein powder formula that can be used, and it helps to bind on to things that don't belong in your gut and prevent them from leaking through. So Immune Shield can be very, very helpful in those going on this journey. And then our probiotic ultrabiotic defense. This is the strongest dose probiotic we offer. It is a 200 billion colony forming unit probiotic. That is the guaranteed minimum dose of the product. So it's a very high dose probiotic that can be very, very helpful for folks trying to embark down this journey. Now, for those of you who stuck through me the whole way, I'm just going to throw this coupon code up for you. If you want to save 15% if you're using any of our products, just use promo code LEAKY when you're checking out. And you just go to glutenfreesociety.org and hit that shop button at the top. Now, if your diet and your lifestyle are failing, again, it's very important that you test for, get with a good doctor and get some testing done. But if your doctor's refusing and you can't find a good doctor to do testing, I want you to know we've added testing services direct to consumer to our website because of this very thing. Most doctors turn patients away and just refuse to do any appropriate testing. So we've added testing for food sensitivities, but we've also added testing for nutritional deficiencies. So if you've talked with your doctor and they refuse to do that, you can go to Gluten Free Society and you can get those tests as well. And something we would encourage you to do if you haven't had it done. You can also, again, ask your doctor to test for and address underlying microbial imbalances if you have them. So again, important things. If diet and lifestyle are not getting you over the hump, proverbially speaking, you really need to work with somebody. Don't try to go it alone. You need to get detailed information about your own unique biochemistry so that you can make the best possible decisions about how to move forward in overcoming your leaky gut / autoimmune issues. Look, I want to say thank you for attending tonight's show on the Dr. Osborne Zone, and I hope it was helpful. And as always, remember our mission is to help save 100 million lives, and we can't do that without you. So if you found this information viable and helpful, please share it with somebody you care about, especially if they're suffering with autoimmune disease and they're just being medicated. Look, the more people we can reach, the more we can educate, the more we can change the world and make it a better place for all of us. Thanks so much. Take care, and we'll see you Thursday for live Q&A.